We are live. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Respect the Craft. This is episode number 195, and I'm joined here by a great guest. He is a true tag team specialist, one half of the legendary Backseat Boys. We got Johnny Kashmere in the building. What's going on, sir? Good evening.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. Ho ho, MFO, brother. What do you
There
think?
we go. Got the Christmas spirit already. Love it. Love it.
Oh yeah.
There you go. But what's going on, man? How's everything? How are you doing?
Everything's good, man. I just been busy as hell, and I had to run in Walmart today because I'm this new camera.
Hey, there you go.
And I'm walking to pay, and I see this, and I walked right by it, and then I thought to myself, I'm doing a podcast tonight for $7. It'll put a smile on my face at least, so I grabbed it. So
hey, there you go, and it's perfect. Again, we're getting in the spirit, and it's Batman. So who doesn't like Batman? Come on, it works.
Too bad.
But no, but I thank you for joining us here because I have seen you're a busy guy. We have a lot to talk about with that busy schedule. But before we get into that, you heard the name of the podcast. It's called Respect the Craft. So when you hear that term, though, the craft, what does that mean to you?
The art form that is pro wrestling.
There you go. That's perfect right there. Here we go. We got Coach C in the building saying Johnny is a legend. He really is. Again, there you go. And then we got the new Backseat After Hours saying, hey, now, there you go. The channel's live there. The channel's live. So
Nice.
let's get into that. Again, the reason we're here as well as this is part of, we have Win Week here. Whole week with Wrestling Is Now, getting ready for all things New York wins this Saturday. As both you and the Backseat Boys, the new Backseats, will be in action this Saturday. Well, you'll finally get your hands, match you've been wanting against Ichiban. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Your thoughts on when it comes to this match this Saturday?
Absolutely. This match has been a long time coming. It was supposed to happen back in like May. And I cut a promo and I edited it and it came out perfect. And then the day came and there was some kind of crazy flooding in the Northeast and Ichiban didn't make it to the event. So we never got to wrestle. So I went out to the ring and beat some guy in 5 seconds. I don't know, choked him out like immediately with my boa constrictor that I created with the help of a few people, which we can talk about later. So I choked him out, the guy, and I said, look, this is a message to you, Ichiban. I was a little offended that he didn't show up because, first of all, yeah, it was bad weather, but like, come on, he could have texted me. He didn't text me. I had to find out from the promoter. So I look at it like this. As far as Ichiban goes, given it a lot of thought, Ichiban, and that web you've surrounded yourself with, you've spun around yourself, that web of bullshit that everyone believes. I'm going to use that to choke the life out of you this Saturday. And then I'm going to lift up your mask and I'm going to snap a picture. And that picture will be for me. And if you ever get out of line with me again, that picture will be for everyone. Actually, I may just end up sharing it come Monday on the internet anyway. We'll see. Either way, I'm coming at Ichiban this Saturday. The man I once was, the man I am now, and the man I know I can be, all in one. That's how pumped I am for this one. So anyway, that's it.
Gotcha. That's a message right there for Ichiban. Again, guys, this is why you got to be there. Ticket link in the description down below. There we go. Let's go back to the comments for a sec. We got Nia Roman in the chat. What's going on, sis? How's it going? We got Nettie in the building. Shout out, Nettie. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for tuning in. But from that, also, I want to get your comments on this one as the Wrestling Is Now tag team titles will be on the line there as CMD will be defending in a tag team scramble, as it will be the Miracle Generation fresh off the NWA, the Slime Balls, and the new Backseats all facing off. And then, as the Maximos have said, expect the unexpected. You don't know who else might enter this tag team scramble come Saturday. So your thoughts on this one, Johnny?
I have a lot of different thoughts on this one. I don't know for sure that the Miracle Generation are even going to be there. I'm not going to sit here and talk about a tag team that I know in the back of my mind probably ain't going to show up either. For whatever reason, no heat or anything. They got to do their thing. They got other opportunities, other places. But Balls are one of the most up and coming tag teams on the indies. They crack me up. I love watching their stuff. I grew up in the 80s on You Can't Do That on television. You know what that was on Nickelodeon? And that's what these guys are doing. And me being a tag team guy, I love to follow all the tag teams, see what they're doing, see what's fresh, see what's new. These guys are pushing the envelope, and I appreciate it. So them having them in the match, awesome. CMD, very intense, and they've been getting their shine lately. You know, people are really starting to respect them. They're starting to get a lot more bookings, and they're starting to win. So good for them. They're on a roll. But the Backseat Boys, let's be honest, guys. They have a legacy that they've already lived up to. These guys are innovating as they go in matches. I've been alongside them for the last 9 months, 10 months. I've seen everything they're capable of. I know how they can innovate and adapt on a dime. They can pivot and they can innovate their offense at the same time. That's a very rare breed that can do that. And they're brothers. They know each other as good as they know themselves. And that kind of tandem cohesion is something that these other teams are just not going to be able to deal with, no matter how quality they are.
Got you. Definitely understood there. So now I want to talk about that. Let's start talking about just this pairing. I can imagine you've had to tell this story a few times, but just can you tell us a little bit more about that? Just how all this came about with you and the formerly new Graysons, Tommy and JP. How did this all come about to get the new Backseats or the Backseat Boys that we see today?
Sure. It goes back to last December when I was on an event that the Backseat Boys creator, Donnie B. I don't know if you know Big 80s.
Yep.
He was the booker for NWA New Jersey under the late, great Dennis Carluzzo. He ran his own federation, Phoenix Championship Wrestling. He created the Backseat Boys gimmick and cast me and Trent in the roles. So I owe Donnie a lot. And he's actually my one of our co-hosts on our own podcast, which hopefully we'll talk about in a minute or so. But anyway, remind me, where were we?
So discussing that. So from Donnie B, and then I believe it was also Mike Bucci that got you guys together, right? Yep.
Exactly. And his brother Nova also had kind of taken the Graysons under their wing. Yep. I got to meet the Graysons, and I saw their love for tag team wrestling. Okay. I really did. I saw it in their eyes. And as I got to know them, I started to see how much dues they've paid. You know, I always say, as you pay your dues, there's an invisible bank account in the sky that's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And, you know, these guys have paid dues, and it's so good to see good people having good things happen to them. And, you know, I had made some friends in the wrestling business that I'm still friends with today that had told me that, hey, there's these guys, the Graysons, and they're big fans of you and Trent, and they love the Backseat Boys and, you know, the whole 9 yards. And when I started watching their stuff, I was like, wow, you know, this is pretty crazy. It's obvious to tell that they were influenced by me. And I'm humbled and touched by that because, you know, when I walked away from the business for a few years, it didn't occur to me that I would come back and everyone would remember the Backseat Boys. You have to understand, I wrestled in a time where YouTube wasn't even a thing, you know? So, you know, now everything you do goes viral in 10 seconds. You know, and I'm just getting used to that landscape now. So it was a match made in heaven. And you know me with the Batman, you know, Burt Ward Dark Knighted me an actual Batman in the ECW arena at PW. There's not a soul in the world other than like Christian Bale that can say I'm not a Batman, as far as I'm concerned. So these guys are the Graysons. What?
It just works. It clicks right there. It was almost just waiting to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On two levels, you know, we had and they look like they're in a boy band. I mean, look at them. They keep themselves in phenomenal shape. You know, they're good. They're all around pretty much TV ready. I mean,
no, definitely. Yeah.
So,
and it shows. We look at, again, I want to show this picture here. When you look at just, again, what you and rest in peace, Trent Acid, what you two were able to do, and then what now they're doing. It's just, it's insane to see how that's passed on, how that's been. So I do have to talk about that. Because I can imagine one thing of wanting to, again, mentor them, give them that, but the idea now of passing on that name and passing on the tradition and just the legacy that is the Backseat Boys. How did that come about?
Actually, again, it was kind of an accident. We were talking at first about me managing them, but it never occurred to me to make them the back seats, or that I could even step back into backseat boy Johnny Kashmere after
Gotcha.
it passed. I thought that was a compartment of my life that was closed forever. And to be able to step back into that was the most invigorating, unexpectedly just refreshing thing I've ever experienced in my life. And it just suddenly happened. I don't know if one of them suggested it, if I suggested it, if Donnie suggested it, but somehow it just clicked, and it was like the stars aligned, and it was just obvious that this was the road to go, And when that happens, when the road glows ahead of you to tell you where to go, you follow it. I've learned that in life.
Gotcha, definitely so. And here we go. We got more comments in the chat here. We got Nikolai White, who I just had on yesterday as well. The legend right here. Definitely is. Again, we're giving him his flowers right here. And then we got Skills the Great going on. Skills, my bros right there. There you go. So let's talk about that, though. For you, I can imagine, again, you've done your time. You did, again, a great lineage of things. And then we talk about coming back into it. How was that decision for you in that process of, you know what, not only to do the managing, but also, I think I could still do this for a little more. Let's get the boots back on.
I never thought that in a million years I could.
Yeah.
Managing these guys, and one day they were like, well, come to the school where we train so we can, cut our promos and do what we have to do. And bring your gear. And I went and we just got in the ring. And I was like, whoa, I can still kind of do this. Like, I didn't expect that. And then I started training. And from that moment on, I'd say in February, March, I started, I already had been to the gym every day, but just did cardio, wasn't training to be a pro athlete in any way, shape, or form. But I didn't let myself go. But I would say right in February, I said, okay, if I still have a chance to even have one more match, I have to take it. Even if it's just an indie, it's so deeply embedded in my soul, wrestling, that any glimmer of hope to have a match, to me, I had to take. And it was a no-brainer. It wasn't even a decision. It made it for me. It was easy. Nothing like no choice to make up your mind. And that's how I felt like I had no choice but to return.
Gotcha. No, and again, it's worked out, especially again to see what you guys have been doing with you, JP, and Tommy. Again, to see this, I feel like as something where in an era right now where we're getting to see just truly so many different talents out there, getting to see that mix, getting to see you guys there, getting to see the SAT still doing their thing, getting to see guys like Theo Homicide, the DHS still doing on their ends, doing their thing. Seeing all that, for me, that again, like I told you before we even planned on doing the episode, I grew up on you guys. The first time I met you, I'm like, hey, it's an honor to meet you, just because I grew up watching the Backseat Boys, watching the SAT, watching DHS, and all that. So seeing you and seeing what you guys are doing, to me, it's amazing. So I thank you for everything you've done for the business.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. And the fact that you named your podcast Respect the Craft, already, like when you asked me to be on, I was like, yeah, sure, why not? But most of the time I say no. I usually don't do podcasts. But I said yes because obviously you're not clickbait, you're doing it for the right reasons. So you got to understand, when I was wrestling, wrestling was just starting to be referred to as like an art. I even want to say, like, Colt Cabana was probably the first person to start all that art talk with the art podcast. You know what I mean? But up until then, you got to remember, kayfabe didn't get broken until what year? For real, 80s, 90s, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Right. Something like, so there's only been time since then. I don't know. Hard to explain. It makes sense in my mind, but
no, I definitely I get where you're going, and I thank you for saying that and for being willing to do the podcast here. No, again, this is something where, even like I said, with the podcast, it's always been showing respect to this, because again, I grew up watching it. I grew up wanting to be a part of the business, and I've had my share. I've gotten to get to be in the ring, getting to do the commentary side of things, like I'll be doing Saturday. So it's always a pleasure and honor to get to speak with you guys on here. So I thank you again.
Yeah, of course. Excellent.
So, but from there, again, we talked all things when we'll be there this Saturday. New York wins. You have your match with Ichiban. The guys have their match for those tag team titles. Looking to become 2-time Wrestling Is Now tag team champions. But there now is another endeavor I want to talk to you about, because it was announced recently, and I have to get into this. The idea of Superpowers of Pro Wrestling, SPO for short here, Talk to us about how did this come together with you and Unk, HC Loke? How did this become a thing?
I mean, Loke's always been one of my beloved brothers since Ring of Honor days, and before he was even in CZW with me. Yep. So Loke is someone that I, on a personal level, adore. I really think he is one of the most he's a living Muppet. He's just a lovable, kind, humble, super smart to the wrestling business and talented individual. And when I came back to wrestling, he showed up at ESW, Empire State Wrestling up in Buffalo, with Dan Casper and a brand new title belt for me that you can see right here. I'll even circle it for you.
There you go.
That's that's the Trent Acid Skywalker belt. They presented that to me, and it moved me to tears, you know. And then he says to me, you know, well, I'm with this company called Excite, and we're running shows, and we would like to bring you guys in. And I'm just like, this is music to my ears, because I want the guys, meaning the Backseat Boys, to wrestle places where they have the same crowd every show, every month. You know, wrestling spot shows is one thing, but you really learn how to work, you know, serial television. You know, wrestling is serial TV. It's not episodic. You got to watch each week to catch on and follow. And that's important. And I wanted these guys to learn that, you know, and to work like that. Does that make sense?
No, I got you. Definitely does.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to say exactly where we take it from here. You know, the Backseat Boys and our thing. I mean, we love editing videos and making videos. So when promoters book us, they know that they're getting a promo.
Yeah.
And they know that they're getting us, we're going to work our hardest, you know. And we went around and did that for Excite. And we went around and did that for Win. And every place that booked us, you know. And these places booked us when we were still unproven, when it was still future uncertain. We announced it, but no one knew if it was going to work.
Yeah.
And they still bet on us, you know. And that's just, you can't beat that. That's love. That, you know, that's not even betting on someone. That's showing love. They showed love based on what I've done in my past, based on my mental prowess now, and the talent of the Backseats. They said, yes, we're going to use you guys, and we're going to give you guys pushes. So it just seemed right that I started a Fed, and everyone that believed in us, I believe in. And I'm going to be fierce. I'm like a fierce lioness when it comes to my federation and my wrestlers and my wrestling students. And some of these guys, I see how hard they work, and I see the dues they've paid, and I see the patience that they have. And if I can even be this much part of rewarding that, that's what I want to do.
Gotcha. That's awesome to hear. And especially, again, from that, when that was announced, and then the match that you're going to be in was announced, definitely intrigued my eye. Because, again, I mentioned some names earlier to see. And, again, it's ending the year. What a way to end the year there with this show. And you're going to be going head-to-head with the Dio himself, the notorious 187, true icon of the business, Homicide.
Oh yeah,
that is. So let's talk about that one. What a match like this, what it means, and just how it came about to get this to happen at a SPO.
Well, first of all, I go back with Homicide to like '98. All right, he was wrestling Trent Acid in '98. Hit him with a VCR, if people know what that even is. And we had to take Trent to the hospital, and he took like 16 stitches, and I had to sit there with him. And I was like, wow, that was my first time really meeting Homicide. And then for when I started Pro Wrestling Unplugged, the first ever championship match was between Trent and Homicide. And Homicide won and became the first ever PW champion. So now, you know, me and the Backseats, we wrestle up in Greektown, Toronto, up there in an amazing federation run by Channing Decker. And when we were up there, they did the Backseats versus Channing Decker and Homicide. So I got a chance to actually see him again and talk to him and catch up with him. And I realized, you know, he's still got life left in him. My God, he is so good. I mean, I even said that to him. I went up to him afterwards and I almost like apologized. Like, I'm sorry that I forgot how good you are. You know what I mean? So I'm more than touched to wrestle him here. It's going to mean so much to me. Whether I win that title or not, just having the match with him versus me in my hometown, you know, this many years after his historic feud with Trent, I'm excited. I'm very excited, actually.
Gotcha. No, definitely. And again, so much there. And I apologize for laughing when you were saying the year, but I'm just like, do I tell him now that so that means you were having Trent was having the match with Theo when the year was born.
That's it.
So it's like, okay. This is where we are in the podcast. But here we go. We got the good brother Smiley in the chat as well, saying good evening, gentlemen. What's going on, brother? How's it going, Smiley?
Yeah,
But so we come with that. We get that matchup there, and then we look at the poster right here. And again, a stacked card. You mentioned them earlier, Channing Decker versus HC Loke. You have the Backseat Boys versus two guys that have been taken under Loke's wing. So I love it. It's that perfect combination of two guys that you had that touch on, and then who Loke has been having. So that's a perfect combination there. We got Lucky 13 in action, Christina Marie versus Rebecca Scott, and then the Silk City Kings will be there. I can imagine there's still more that you have yet to announce as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as you can imagine, we're a tag team company. Tag team's what I specialize in. It's what I know. It's what I want to try to push the envelope forward. You know, I've said it before. I like to dangle my toes off the farthest reaches of tag team wrestling and see what's there. And not many people do that. And I think we have a chance to do that here. Now, me versus Homicide is great. The international incident match, we're calling it, Channing Decker versus HC Loke, is phenomenal. The girls match, I've seen them wrestle before, and it's unbelievable to watch. It's so good that I don't even want to show footage to the fans in Burlington because I want them to just experience it. You know what I mean? But other than that, it's all tag matches. Like, we purposely announced the singles matches a month before the show because now the lead-in is going to be the tag matches. And this is the time for the Backseat Boys and CXR to probably main event, to be honest with you. They're the guys that, you know, the tag titles to me are the main titles in SPO. Heavyweight title's awesome. I love it. It's needed. But tag titles is where I hang my heart. It always has been. Don't be surprised to see tag title matches main eventing SPO. That's all I'm saying.
No, definitely understood. Especially, again, I can imagine, like, I've had this conversation with the Theos, the Maximos. For you guys, that is your lifeblood there. Tag team wrestling, truly, meaning that it has that just it's there. It's like how I now say the tag team specialist right there, man. That's again what you and Trent did. What you guys, again, all of you guys doing that. It truly defined what tag team wrestling can be. So to see that carried on here for another company, that's awesome. So as I mentioned that, and as we get into that, also you talked about it earlier. So the podcast that is now formed out of this, touch us a little bit about that and what that's going to be carrying forward, even after the SPO event this December.
Sure. We actually started doing it about 4 weeks ago on Instagram Live. And it was such a hit. We had so much fun. And Donnie B, my mentor, came on and decided to do it with us. So it's myself, it's Donnie B, and then it's the Backseat Boys, which if you do your math and you've been paying attention, that's actually 3 generations of the Backseat family right there, which is kind of neat. Grandfather, dad, and kids, you know, in a way. And then we also have Rob Sanderson, who is a very talented voiceover specialist, radio host. He's done commentary for, he's the voice of Buffalo and Upstate New York wrestling, and he's also done hockey games. And he's very amazing. So it's us, and it's a way for us to talk and give our opinions and talk about what's new and plug the events coming up and meet new talent. We already taped 2 episodes. One's up right now. So if you go to Apple Podcast or you go to Spotify and just search Spocast, SPOCAST, it'll come up and you can watch our first episode. It's about 47 minutes long. We introduce ourselves. It's a good listen. We talk about promoting differences between now and in the 90s. And we talk about just a lot of different things that are kind of nuanced about the indie wrestling business that people might find informative and interesting.
Gotcha.
And then we also taped the second one, which I'll put out probably Friday, with Bushwhacker Luke, Bill Alpha, Mo Jabari, Bret Hart's protege. So we already have those 2 coming out. So we're going to try to do at least one a week, but it'll definitely be every Monday. We're going to try to tape right around like 7:30, 8 o'clock, something like that.
Gotcha.
And we go live on my Instagram as well as YouTube and Facebook.
Gotcha. just to make sure you guys, if you're not already, which you should be, go follow this man on his Instagram right there, Johnny Kashmere. Follow him on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it as well, at Johnny Kashmere right there. So you're keeping up to date with all things Johnny and all things that are coming up, especially with SPO, with the podcast, with the new bag seats, and all that great stuff right there. So, but let's keep it going here because I do want to talk about that again. Now that you are in the swing of things, you're back with it. If it's with the back seats yourself, we talked about matches confirmed, but now let's talk about this. I can imagine that time away you were watching. You got to see the evolution of the crop of talent. Who's on that list for you that you would want to face now, if there is a said list?
To wrestle or to book?
To wrestle.
To wrestle. Okay, I want to wrestle the one called Manders. I think he's right up my alley as far as his style. I think we could have a hard-hitting match that looks sick. I like, who else do I want to wrestle? Sonny Kiss. I think Sonny Kiss.
Okay.
I want to wrestle. I loved wrestling Mo Jabari, Bret Hart's mentor. He was one of my favorite opponents. I loved wrestling Space Monkey. I had so much fun wrestling him. But these guys are amazing competitors, guys that when I go in there, I'm like nervous because I got to work up to their level. These guys are awesome. I'd love to work Paul London. I'd love to work. I'm getting to work the Vaudevillains coming up on the 16th, and that's for me. Anyone. Yeah, there you go. Anyone that knows me knows that I was a big fan of the Broad. Am a big fan of the Vaudeville. I thought it was one of the most refreshing, well done acts in tag team wrestling, probably in years at the time, maybe even.
Definitely.
And I just thought it was phenomenal. I think they're great. I really am. I'm excited to meet them and to work with them.
Oh, definitely so. And again, it's going to be one where, especially now after so many years and just seeing what they've become, because Simon Gotch definitely just his new style now, getting to see what he's become and seeing after the Noah excursion and all that. I will say this, it's going to be a hard-hitting contest for you guys on the 16th. So I'll give that little bit out there because seeing Simon Gotch twice in person, seeing what he's done, it's like, that strong style definitely stayed with him after Pro Wrestling Noah.
And he's a house too, man. But you know what? It's the 2300 arena, the former ECW arena. So, you got to do what you do. Soldiers bond on the battlefield, bro.
Definitely so. And again, that's you get that home field advantage there, right there at the 2300 arena place. You're definitely not a stranger to right there.
That's so weird to feel that way, bro. You're right. I do. Like guys like Justin Credible and Tommy Dreamer hear me say stuff like that. They're like, oh, what a goof, what a mark. But yeah, I've wrestled there a lot and it does feel like home when I walk in there. So, probably not as much as those guys. Of course not.
Of course, again, it will still be referred to as the ECW arena. But when we look at the next era of crop of talent, it's like you get the Trent Acids, the Johnny Kashmere's, you get that. You get the who was there after, again, also spilling blood and doing all that insanity. So let's talk about that, Lou, if you don't mind talking about just that era for you, the Backseat Boys, what that meant, and just a little bit of how that era was for you and seeing what it's evolved to now.
Yeah, I mean, I started off in wrestling school and Trent Acid was already a wrestler. And him and I became friends. Donnie B chose us to start this gimmick. I was only a year and a half in the business, not even, maybe. So Trent was like raring to go. He had all these ideas. He was confident. And I'm just kind of like tail between my legs, looking around like no one notice me. Like I'm so over my head, I felt, but Trent was able to work with me. And within a couple weeks, we had this cohesion that I don't know where it came from. I don't know how we got to be so cohesive. I mean, we're both Italian, but that shouldn't do it. I mean, there's tons of Italian people out there. It doesn't make me cohesive with them. So I don't understand how him and I, being not brothers, were able to be so cohesive. And I'm so thankful for that. And it's something I didn't notice back in the day. I have to now go back and watch my footage and be like, wow, like we just adjusted to each other without even speaking. We just knew, like, there's like a sixth sense that develops. And that's why the Graysons are so special, because of that sixth sense that brothers have.
And it's one of those where you watch matches like that. Like that was one thing I remember the first time I had the Theos on, the Maximos. And it's like when you guys, all four of you even squared off, it's one of those where you couldn't tell that again, unless it said, who knows that you and Trent weren't, because you guys had that chemistry. When you look at the dream sequence, it's like, it was flawless. There's nothing there that it's like, how do they know just to be right there on top? Like, it's one of those where it just became that. And I think that is what makes the best tag teams, when you have that cohesion, when you have just that bond that, again, it's unspoken, because we'll never get it unless you're there.
Yeah.
So,
and I've noticed, at least on the indies, a lot of the singles wrestlers, there's like an unspoken, I want to say, competition between them. You know, like they're threats to each other in a way.
Yeah.
In a way. I don't feel that with the tag teams. I really feel like the tag teams get it. Like, we have to look out for each other. There's so few of us. It's almost like tag teams are an endangered species, you know? And I just feel like we're all finally starting to realize how specialized our skills are. And it's needed in wrestling. You can't just have a show full of all singles matches. You need things to break it up. It's like music. You know, you have to have different notes. It can't all be the same. And I think people are starting to realize that the art of tag team wrestling goes a lot deeper than we've even explored yet. And I think it's on the shoulders of people that recognize that to do something about it. And unfortunately, that means me. I'm not looking to be that. I'm not trying to be a leader or say, oh, put me over because I'm doing this. No, but I see a need. And my job as someone that loves wrestling and wants to give back to the business that gave me so much, I feel it's my duty and obligation to fill that need.
Gotcha, definitely so. And again, to see that with what you're doing with SPO, again, to see what's being done as well with Wrestling Is Now with the Maximals, you guys are definitely making tag team wrestling a mainstay again. Because I have said this. I've said, to me, I love the art of tag team wrestling, but it's also been almost pushed aside for a while as we're looking at more of singles matches and just seeing, okay, everyone's looking out almost for themselves instead of, hey, let's have tag team wrestling be a mainstay again and have that feeling of this can be a main event match instead of just, oh, well, it's on the card.
Right. And think of the marketability of tag teams. Now everyone wants to be Stone Cold, The Rock. They want to be that one star that breaks through the glass ceiling and becomes bigger than WWE. And no tag team has done that without breaking up. Until that happens, there's going to be a glass ceiling on how high tag teams can go. But if that were to somehow happen, then we're going to start being able to see tag team titles in main events on national TV in our lifetime. That's not too far-fetched to hope for.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Especially, again, with the crop that is now, because we're starting to see, again, tag team wrestling get that. You see the new backseats. You see teams like the Audacity, the Slime Balls. You see teams that are making their way. Shout out to my bros, the Main Event, another team that has gotten that just, they're making it. Tag team wrestling is on fire right now.
Live Danger, the young, they're tearing it up in New York. They came with us to a show in New Jersey, and I told them, I said, guys, anything you want, like, you're with us, man. These guys are good. They get it. They're intense. They're young. They listen. They're humble, and they're going to make names for themselves. And I'm happy to be someone that, you know, I got a little further than some people, and now I turn around and help them get to where I get to, because eventually they're going to surpass me, and they might just be kind enough to turn around and help me a step or two. And that's really my entire philosophy of the wrestling business. That's how I train my students. That's how I run my wrestling events. That's it. There's got to be a love component in wrestling. And anyone who's too old school and too tough and macho to add a love component is going to end up failing, or they're not going to change with the times, and they're going to kind of look foolish.
Oh, definitely so. And again, it's one of those where you get to now see the business succeed. It's always been my thing about the business. We should try to make it better than it was before, instead of just, hey, well, I'm worried about myself and my spot. It's like that goes to a certain degree, but then it's like, where does that take you? Instead of let's all win, so then it continues to grow for the next generation as well.
And if I have to blow out your candle to make mine shine brighter, then that's not talent. That's And that's why I love working for guys like the SAT. This show this Saturday and Win in New York is going to be something special. I can see how excited the SAT are to be back in New York. I really, like, it means something. The way me running a show here in my hometown of Burlington City means something to me. It means something to them. And these are guys that when they're passionate about something, get out of the way because they're going to succeed. They're going to do it. Joel's coming back from an injury in probably February. And when that happens, I think we're going to see a new side of the SAT that we've never seen before. That's my prediction.
No, definitely so. And I'm excited for that because, again, the run they were on, it was something to see just to see how that fire was back. And I have to ask that for you, how that, because, again, with the SAT, they were never gone. I always say it always looked like they were around. With you, how was that fire when you finally decided to come back? Because you took I can imagine, especially after Trent's passing, it was one of those of, you know what, we did our thing.
Right.
To come back, I can imagine it's a lot of, is it time? Is this something to do it now? Because unfortunately, there is no Trent. Like with the Maximos, they have Joel, they have Jose, they have Will, they're there. Right. But to come back into this now that it's like, but he's not here. I can imagine it's a harder fire to try to get back.
It sucks. It does. It sucks. But I got to say this, Trent is a human like any one of us, no more or less special than any other person. And the Graysons, they're great people, and I've bonded with them just the same as I bonded with Trent, and I love them just the same, and I'd do anything for them. And as far as I'm concerned, family's family. You know what I mean? And Trent and me were family, and we proved it in the ring by our cohesion, that we were close as family. You could tell, that we were close as family. And that's what's happening when I watch these guys wrestle, the backseats. And that's what happens with CXR, too. Don't sell CXR short. And I'm not saying you are, but CXR is phenomenal, too. And them versus the backseats for our tag belts in SPO is going to be amazing. And tickets are on sale at spowrestling.com, just ringside right now. But I know this is about win, and I'm sorry to
No, it's all good. This, again, like I said, it's about Johnny Kashmere here. So whatever you want to discuss, we're touching on. Right there's the poster. Again, he's not giving it too much, but it's him and Homicide. Come on. How can you not want to go to this show? You got a huge heavyweight title match there. You have, again, the tag titles on the line. You have Channing Decker and HC Loke there. You have a great women's match there with Christina Marie and Rebecca Scott. Silk City Kings in action, which that's another great team there. Shout out to them. Yep. And again, it's another fresh breath of fresh air, especially for your town right there on December 31st.
Yep. Yeah. Between the SAT and the backseats, who are both 3-man groups now.
Yeah.
There's no reason that Win and SPO can't set the national standard for independent tag team wrestling.
Definitely not. Again, it's one of those where it can happen. And again, it is happening. We're seeing it more and more. We're seeing it again, like we said, this Saturday again. It was highlighted that at first singles matches were talked about, but then we start to see tag teams talked about. We start to see what is happening. And again, when a company ran by the Maximo, the company ran by Johnny Kashmere and HC Loke. Let's not forget how insane the Carnage crew was. Let's not forget. So it's one of those where tag team wrestling again is going to thrive here because it lives on in its legacy. It's there. It's already been set. You can imagine tag team wrestling is going to have that forefront. Without a doubt.
It's going to happen. It's meant to happen. I feel the stars aligning. I feel the hum, the anticipation, and something's happening. I don't know what it is, but I haven't felt this since my first run, but it's an unmistakable feeling, and it's the same thing. So something's about to happen. I just don't know what it is. But I'm very excited and humbled by the way doors have been opened. And, we're about to start a school, and I'm about to start taking on some students too. So, you heard that here first. If you're interested in being trained by me and the Backseat Boys and becoming part of the extended Backseat family, hit me up, slide into my DMs, which sounds so gross now. I don't know saying it.
That is the phrase though, but to make sure they can do that again, go follow us.
I feel dirty saying it. I don't know why.
It's all good. Make sure you're following him right there on his Instagram right there, Johnny Kashmere. Follow him on Twitter so that way you can slide in his DMs. And again, go get trained by a true tag team specialist and one of the great upcoming tag teams in the new Backseat Boys right there.
That's it. And I was trained by the Pitbulls, so I was trained by a tag team.
Look at that. Again, it keeps going. It keeps going. And then the man that put you on, it's Donnie B. Again, you look at his history and what he's done for the business. again, there's just so much knowledge being shared right there.
Yeah, and that's why our Spokecast Live, on Apple Podcast and Spotify, whatever. That's why we're having so much fun with it. It's for us to be us, and at the same time talk about the events, talk about independent wrestling, give people a different perspective, something they're not used to hearing. We don't just give opinions; we actually explain why, and we get into detail and nuance of things that you're not going to hear wrestlers talk about that often. So I think it's a neat opportunity for fans to listen to us and sort of digest what we're saying. And then by the next episode, maybe their idea would change or evolve. And then, they could reach out to us, let us know. We need interaction on this. So
there you go. So again, guys, you're going to want to check that out as well. And again, it's always good to hear a podcast that shares that type of knowledge as well, instead of just this is what I thought of Raw this week. Like, no, we need something where you got an actual opinion and breakdown of this craft that we have here.
Yeah, and Donnie B's teaching a masterclass of how to promote and be a good promoter. I mean, Donnie B has run so many events. Yeah. He was the top promoter in New Jersey for over a decade. His last event had 1,600 people or more. It may have even been 1,800. I mean, he knows what he's doing, and every little bit of advice he's giving me, I'm taking. I've run 100 events in my life easy, with PW, but running in Philly is a completely different animal than running in New Jersey, And Donnie has just been invaluable. And so many people, when they give me feedback on the podcast, they say, Donnie's so intelligent. Donnie knows what he's saying. I agree with Donnie 100%. So, if you're a fan that hasn't given it a chance yet, when you're at work or you're working out or whatever you're doing, search Spokecast on Apple or Spotify and just give it a listen. And I promise the one coming out Friday is going to be really funny with Luke Bushwhacker and Alfonso. So look for that, everyone.
There you go. No, definitely. I'm definitely going to have to check that out as well, just to hear, so again, get another insightful mind in the business and just to hear what you guys are discussing. Because I can imagine hearing you guys talk, especially just that cohesion of you all. And again, it's generations of the backseats right there. You get different minds and different eras of a group we all love. So that's awesome to hear.
Generation. I like that. The next podcast will be that.
There you go. There we go. So you heard it here on Respect the Craft, guys. Just make sure when that's announced, just give the cheap plug there. That's all.
No, man, this is great. You're really good at what you do too, man. And I'm not just saying that. I watched your last show as research. You're good at it. You're good at it.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You hold my attention. So good job, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Definitely. But before we start wrapping this up, I do have one final question here. And that is for Johnny Kashmere, for the backseats. What is the end goal, brother?
The end goal for me is I want to do what Robert Stone is doing in NXT. I want to be like a manager or maybe a commentator or an interviewer or something, or even a referee. I can't imagine they're going to want me to wrestle, but I wouldn't say no. But yeah, just something like that. I mean, the backseats obviously I think have NXT written all over them. I would hope. I think they'd be an amazing fit with their promo abilities, as well as their talent for backstage things like producing and directing and stuff that I didn't realize they'd be so good at that they are. And stuff like that. I guess you can teach it, but I think it's more of you either have it or you don't. You know what I mean? So let's get them to TV contracts or to the Performance Center, and let's get me just running a good Fed with sustainability, and eventually maybe, I don't know, something on TV if the stars align. But if not, I just want to help other people get there, and that will make me equally as happy, I think.
That would be awesome to see. And again, who knows? Again, we might be seeing, if everything aligns, we could see that trio right there, down there on a TV screen being shared by all three of you. Who knows? And I can imagine that would make him definitely happy up there. But before I let you go, one more time, I'm going to plug the socials right there. So you guys, again, as much as he doesn't like to say it, you can slide in his DMs to go find out about training and all those opportunities over there. Follow Johnny Kashmere on his Instagram right there. Follow him on Twitter right there. Again, come see us this Saturday as Wrestling Is Now presents New York Wins. He'll be going head-to-head with Ichiban. See the new Graysons go at it as new backseats, I should say. Sorry. As they're challenging for those Wrestling Is Now tag team titles. Also, I got to thank the Knuckleheads for plugging me and actually sponsoring me for this Saturday's event, as I'll be doing commentary for the show Also, don't forget, on December 31st, SPO puts together here their event. As you'll see, Johnny Kashmere versus Homicide for that heavyweight championship. See CXR and the Backseats going head-to-head for those tag team titles. Shannon Decker versus HC Loke. Christina Marie versus Rebecca Scott. The Silk City Kings in action, and so much more. Also, don't forget, at the 2300 Arena, see the new Backseats going head-to-head with the formerly known Vaudevillains. That's going to be part of Battleground Championship Wrestling. As always, guys, don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, be better people, respect the craft, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.